Hi, my name's Paul Grogan and welcome to the first in a series of videos where I'm going to be covering the computer game Book of Hours. Now, regular viewers of mine will know that I generally cover board games on the channel or computer versions of board games. This is not one of those. This is purely a computer game. So, off we go. We're going to dive into this. Now, I have to say, before we start, first of all, these are not sponsored videos in any way. The publisher of the game, which is a company called Weather Factory, did send me a Steam key, so this is a free copy of the game that I got. And I reached out to them because I was extremely interested in this game from things that I read about it. Their previous game, Cultist Simulator, was very popular. I looked at it, but it looked to me a little bit too stressful. A lot of things were on timers, and I think you could die and things like that. And the things that I've read about this game is it's a little bit more relaxed. We're going to jump in today, we're going to start a new game, and I'm going to talk you through it. Each of these episodes is probably going to be about 30-40 minutes long, and we'll see how we get on. So, let's click on New Game. We're going to overwrite my previous save, and essentially this game is set in a small village in Cornwall in the 1920s. It is a narrative-driven game, but there's a puzzle aspect to it as well. And it's about cataloguing books in a library, I think. This is one of those games where there is no real tutorial as such, but a lot of the user interface and a lot of what you do in the game is a little bit of a mystery to start with, and it's one where you need to just experiment, you need to try things and everything else. I've already had a couple of practice run-throughs of it, so I've got a little bit of an idea of what's going on. And if you're the kind of person that likes to... Oh, there you go, it's 1936, not the 1920s, 1930s. If you're the kind of person that likes to explore these games yourself, then you probably don't want to watch these videos, because a lot of the enjoyment of this game, if you like that kind of thing, will come from you actually working it out yourself. Anyway, we're going to jump in. So it's Brancrug, March 7th, 1936. There has been no librarian at Hush House since the fire, 7 years now. Suitable candidates are very difficult to find, but perhaps we have found one in you. Take care on your journey. The seas around Brancrug are treacherous. So, as I say, there is no tutorial in the game as such. You've just got to kind of explore around and work out what to click on, which I've done. I've spent a few hours playing this game to get me to the point where I understand the basics of it. I've also been watching a few other YouTube videos, which is a little bit of a spoiler, but I'm not very good at working things out myself, so I needed a little bit of a help. Anyway, here we are. We're in St Brandon's Cove. If we zoom out, you will see that a lot of the map is covered in these wavy lines, including Cucurbit Bridge, and over here we have Hush House. So Hush House is where most of the gameplay is going to take place, but we can't get there yet. And over here we have Brancrug Village, which again is also greyed out with wavy lines, and we can't get there yet. But what we do have is we have these steps. We have these steps which have got the padlock on, and if we click on it, you will see one of the boxes, which is the main sort of interface of the game, is these boxes will appear with slots that you're going to slot cards into. So Brancrug Village, Sanctuary in the Storm. I'll need help to climb the cliffs in the dark, and the locals are suspicious of outsiders, more than ever so since the Restoration and the new king. And what happens is if you click on a slot, you basically get this box popping up in the top right that tells you what that slot needs. So you can see here we have the asterisk or the big star thing. This is essential. So whatever goes in the slot must have this aspect, which is assistance. The librarian lives alone, but there's no shame in seeking assistance from others. Assistance can open new rooms or help you with your studies. It disappears when used or at dawn. Okay? So it has to be an assistance. Then we have this one, and the tick means it has to have one of the things that's listed. Now, at the moment, there's only one thing listed, which means it has to have that as well, which is the aspect of sky, wind, storm, echo, song, the intricacies of mathematics, and the principles of flight. Law's touch is lighter than we sometimes think. There is quite a bit of narrative in this game, and I am going to read it out because a lot of the enjoyment of this game comes from immersing yourself in the setting of the game rather than just clicking through it to try and solve whatever puzzle this holds. I don't know what the ultimate aim of this game is. I don't know if there is an overriding story. I don't know if there's an end game that you're trying to achieve. It's just one of those games, from what I've read about it, where you just experiment and you do things and see what happens. The last thing is the X. It cannot be this. So we're looking for something with the assistance aspect that also has sky, but it cannot be skeptical. If it's skeptical, we can't use it. And once we've put a card in there that meets all of those criteria, this should highlight, and then we can unlock it. Right now, we've got nothing. We've got nothing. Down at the bottom is where all of our stuff goes. We have memories and lessons, elements of the soul, skills and languages, sundries, and the items that we're going to find, they go up in the top left. We can only have 5 of those. But we've got nothing at the moment. But what we do have is we have this white number 3 over here around this. We're going to click on this. It says the cold comes first, thunder growling, waves pounding, and finally me, sprawled on the sodden sand of the beach. There's something in my hand. Now, one thing that I don't quite understand about the game is all of this stuff down here. I don't really understand powers, expertise, and forms. If you understand this, please let me know. But we'll see. Hopefully this will make more sense the more we play. But you can see here we've got 3 cards. They're face down. We can click on each one to reveal them. Or we could just click collect and it will give us them. But let's go through each one of these in turn. This one, health, half drowned. Shivers rack my soaked body. Your health is failing. Find somewhere to warm up. And there's a timer on that. And I said that this was not going to be a stressful game with no timers. That when the timers run out, you die. And straight away, we've got a card which looks like we might die in 5.5 minutes if we don't do something about it. Thankfully, you can pause time. You can press the spacebar, which will give you time to read all of the stuff, make some decisions, and then you can unpause and carry on. So the second thing we found is a memory of a storm. There are storms great enough to shake the moon from the sky and one's thoughts from one's skull. Memories are a really important part of the game. Memories will last for a day and they will disappear at the start of the next day. But memories, as you can see in the top right, they have these aspects. So this, for example, has heart 2, sky 2, and it is a memory. So all memories have the aspect of memory, which is something remembered might be something understood. And it does say memories disappear each dawn unless they are persistent. You can get persistent memories, apparently. And finally, we have our first item. This is a drowned book. The one possession I kept from the shipwreck. It must be important to me. This is a thing. It's readable. It is a journal. And it is soaked. So these are the 4 aspects or tags which are relevant to that particular item. And if we click collect, you'll see that those disappear into the relevant spaces on the screen. I'm creating these videos, by the way, at the end of August in 2023. The game only just got released, but the developers are applying quality of life patches and in tweaks and improvements all the time. So just in case you're watching this quite a way in the future, it might look different. Some things might work in a different way. But yeah, that's where we are at the moment. So this eyeball is something that we can do throughout the whole game. This is always available to us, and basically we can drop things into here. Right now it is remember, and it says what do I have left to work with. And what's quite cool is that if you move your mouse over it or click on it, that's it, click on it, it actually highlights all of the other things which can go in there. So once you've got lots and lots of cards all over the screen, you can click on the slot and it will highlight the things that will actually go in there. So, just for example, we can put that in there. I'm soaked, I'm freezing, but as far as I can tell, I'm still alive. You still have some health. Don't lose it. You need it if you want to be alive. What else do you have? So we were allowed to put it in the slot, but we can't click on there. The start button is greyed out. So that's obviously not going to do anything. Let's just put that back. Can we put the memory of the storm in there? We can, but again, it's not doing anything. One thing we can put in is the old journal. Perhaps this book can help me put the pieces together. And the forms that it's got are the 4 aspects that were on the book. But we've got this new box that's opened. What's left? The storm didn't take everything. So we can put in either the memory of the storm or the health. Let's put the memory of the storm in. There we go. There was a storm. It smashed the ship like an egg, but I seized this book as the sea seized me. Then the sea brought me here to Brancrug. And the start button is now highlighted. So finally we can actually put these 2 things together, click start, and then we have a timer. So a lot of things that you'll do in the game will start a timer. I'm going to unpause the game while we let the timer run. And you can have multiple things going on at once. Timer is now finished. I'm going to pause it again. because that health is ticking down and I don't want to die while I'm explaining how to play the game. There was a storm. Oh yeah, Brancrug is where I wanted to be, but it's hard to remember why. What else did I lose in the storm? So we click collect. Well, let's just have a look at what we've got. We've got Fet, fatigued, Chore, fatigued, and Shapt, fatigued. So those three things are actually 3 of the 9 elements of the soul. There are 9 elements of the soul. Health is one of them. Shapt is another. Chore is another. Fet is another. We've got 3 of them, but they're all fatigued. That means we can't really use them at the moment. But let's just have a look. Have we got any? Has anything else unlocked? Nothing else has unlocked. We can actually move around just to see in case there is anything else over here. Nothing else over here. No, I think we're pretty much stuck on the beach at the moment. Yeah. Okay. Just checking. So yeah. Well, let's have a click around and see what we can do. So, what will go in there? Anything will go in there. The book will go in there, or any of these will go in there. But that's not doing it in. That's me. What else is me? Can we take that out? I wonder if you can overwrite by putting one in. Yeah, you can. You can overwrite. That's good. So none of these are working. The only other thing we've got is the book. And again, like I said, a lot of this game is about experimentation, and the more that you play the game, you'll start to learn what particular things can go in where and what things you can combine together. So perhaps this book can help me put the pieces together. We put the storm in there, but let's put in, for example, let's put in Shapt. The human soul has 9 parts. Eloquence and understanding rise from that part of the soul we call Shapt. Is my Shapt strong? So it says recover this, the other 2 will be lost to the sea. So what's going to happen is if we start this and we are salvaging the book with what's left of Shapt, we're going to lose the other 2. Effectively, we're being given a decision at the start of the game of which one of those 3 elements do we want. Let's just put Chore in and see what that is. Chore is exuberance, enthusiasm, instinct, all rise from that part of the soul we call Chore. And finally we have Fet, which looks like a brain thing. Fet is that part of the soul that dreams. Is my Fet strong? Sure, let's go with that one. I'm going to assume that this game has multiple paths and multiple routes depending on the choices that you make. And I didn't choose this one the last time I played, so we're going to do this one. Again, we got another timer. I'll let the timer run. And this is the coast where Brancrug Isle lies. I've seen it in my dreams night after night. I know there's no way I can cross to the isle in these seas. I'll need to find shelter for the night. So we've got... Oh, we got Ereb, Fost, and Whist, and Metal. So we've gained 4 more. And we've also got Fet, which is not Fatigue. So Fet is the one we chose to take, but it looks like it's given us 4 more. So let's go through it again. We can salvage. Do we want to salvage? Oh, and you can right-click. Right-click moves it straight in there. Metal is the soul's tempering, will, self-discipline, that part of us which makes the right choice. Or we can put Whist in there. Whist is the soul's memory, the true name scratched on its cornerstone, what remains after the rest has passed. Choose a strong whist and a past where you sought voices that had fallen silent. The waves will wash away the others for now. Okay, so again, it's giving us a choice. Fost is the light within, sight, perception, inspiration. Choose a strong Fost and a past with a pursuer who can see the light within you. Let's go with that one. Yeah, let's go with that one. Again, I'm hoping it doesn't really matter. We'll see. We'll see. If you play this game yourself and you're watching this video, let me know which ones you chose. And let me know if the game is different, depending on that. Perhaps here I'll find safety from what follows me. But what was that exactly? First things first, I remember there's someone in the village who will give me sanctuary, if I can get there. So it says mysteries have been added to your journal. You can begin to investigate them when you and your journal are both dry. So we've got an old friend's address. I first heard of Brancrug through its rector, Reverend Timothy. For years now I've been exchanging letters with him. I can find shelter for tonight under his roof. once I've reached Brancrug village. And the rector can also introduce you to other villagers. Right, so an old friend's address is lantern. It's got the lantern aspect and an introduction aspect. Okay, so we're going to collect all of this. So they've gone down there under sundries. The soaked book has gone up there. It's still soaked. And we have Fet and Far. Now this little button here, you click on that and it basically organises them. So if they get in a bit of a mess, you can organise them, and when you get more of them, you can drag it up to give you more space. Okay, so look at this. Something else has just appeared. We have a new box that's just appeared that says shelter. Brancrug village must be nearby, but it's hard going dragging my soaked body across the soaked sand in the teeth of this wind. Which way? Let's let the countdown run and see why. You can speed up time if you need to, and I'll do that later when the timers are a bit longer. But for a 5-second timer, we're not going to bother. So we've got memory, fear. So we've got another memory. The oldest and strongest emotion of mankind is fear. And the oldest and strongest kind of fear is fear of the unknown. Lovecraft. Okay. So, Brancrug village and shelter lies nearby. If only I can muster my remaining strength to find help. So we need to drop something in here, and it says it needs to be an element of the soul. It must be an element of the soul. It either has to be heart, knock, or rose. One of those three will do. And it cannot be winter. If it's winter, it's not going to work. So, again, you can click on this, and you'll notice that Fet is being highlighted. So that's telling us that Fet can go in there. Fost can't go in there because Fost is 2 lantern, 1 sky, it's an element, and it's an occupant. So although it's an element, it doesn't have heart, knock, or rose, which are one of the 3 things we need, but Fet does. Fet has 2 rows, so we can put Fet in there. And it says, did I dream of this beach and this wind? If I did, I might remember the path I took in that dream, a path which brought me light. So yeah, this is slightly different from the last time I played, because last time I think I shouted out into the night to see if somebody could hear me. This time, I'm remembering a dream that I had. Right, 10-second countdown, so again, I'm just going to speed time up a little bit. There you go. Right. At last, the light of a hurricane lamp bobbing in the dark. As it approaches, a face looms out of the night. It's a fisherman's assistance. A fisherman from Brancrug village. He can guide me up the cliff path if he trusts me. So the aspects of this card are moon, sky, skeptical, assistance, and reluctant. And if we just remind ourselves what we needed for this lock, it needed to be an assistance with sky, but not skeptical, which is why we currently... Where's he gone? Oh, we've not collected the card yet. That's where he's gone. That's why we can't drag this into there. It won't accept it, because right now the slot needs to have a card that is not skeptical, and right now he is skeptical. So we're going to have to do something to make him not skeptical. And we can do that by talking to him. So we're going to talk to him, and now another box has appeared. Come no closer. What's thy business? Basically, we're going to choose what to talk to him about. And it says, is there someone who might vouch for me with the villagers? And to go in this slot, it needs to be an introduction. So I said the game doesn't have a tutorial. It doesn't as such. It's not called a tutorial, but essentially this is going through the process of learning the game. Of course, nothing that I'm telling you is popping up. I've only learned this by playing through it myself and basically fumbling around for a few hours trying to work out what was going on and then watching a couple of videos. But hopefully this will help you get started with the game. So, be someone that'll speak for E. Of course, since 1930 and the Restoration, the locals have grown ever more suspicious of foreigners. But there is someone in Brancrug I know. So we'll start this, and we'll let the timer run. I'll take ye by the cliffs then. This gentleman is no longer skeptical, so he's lost the skeptical aspect, which means we should be able to put him there. We can. And we're going to unlock that. Now notice the box has disappeared, but if you zoom in, and you can zoom in quite a way on these things, we have a countdown on the actual padlock. And what's happened is Brancrug village has been unlocked. So we have all sorts of different buildings here. We have the smithy, which is where Denzel Smith has more work than he needs, and he rarely opens his door to strangers. You need an introduction or a mutual acquaintance marked with edge, forge, or heart, i.e. somebody in a similar trade, or someone who can appeal to his secret passion for saffron cake. And again, if you click on the slot, it tells you what it needs. It needs to be an introduction. It must have either edge, forge, or heart, and it cannot be the old friend's address that we've got, another old friend's address, or another old friend's address, or reluctant. So it cannot have any of those things, but it must be that, and it must have one of those three things. So we don't have anything to go there, which makes thematic sense because he doesn't know us. We need an introduction. We need somebody to introduce us to him. Over here we have the pub, which is the Sweet Bones. After the restoration of 1930, the new king's agents came looking for his enemies in these parts, and they weren't gentle about it. Since those days, the locals are suspicious of foreigners. No one in the Sweet Bones will talk to me. And again, if we click on that, we'll find, yeah, we don't have any of these. Well, we do have assistants, do we? No, the fisherman's gone. So we don't have assistants. We don't have money. We don't have metal. We don't have chore. We do have shaps. But, oh yeah, so according to this, we could put, no, Fost. What's Fost? Fost is lantern and sky. What do we need? We need metal, chore, or shaft, and we don't have either of those three things. Okay, so yeah, diplomacy or bribery. We don't have any of the three things which we can use to go into the pub. So yeah, if we click on the slot, you'll see nothing is highlighting. We have here the post office. The post mistress may have something for me once I know what to ask for. And in there, it's looking for a readable journal. It either has to be readable or a journal. Well, we have a readable journal. We have our drowned book. But it cannot be soaked. And our drowned book is currently soaked. So as soon as we dry the book out, this aspect will disappear. We can then put it in the post office counter. Over here, we have Mr. and Mrs. Killy with a cool house that's split in two. And Mr. Killy is coffins and cradles. And Mrs. Killy is midwife and handywoman. So he's a carpenter and he builds stuff. And she helps deliver babies and do other things. Mrs. Killy, the midwife, is tall and gloomy. Mr. Killy, the undertaker, is slight and wry. In these troubled times, both are wary of strangers. Again, you need a suitably marked introduction. Check the slot. We don't have any of these. I mean, we have the introduction. And it probably has one of those. It's got lantern on it. So, yeah, it is that. And it is that. But unfortunately, it is that. And it can't be that. So, yeah, we can't go there. The place we do want to go is the old rectory. Because this is where Reverend Timothy is a hospitable soul, but Terence, his housekeeper, guards her employer fiercely. She doesn't want his innocent theological enthusiasms getting him in trouble with the new king's men. So again, we need an introduction, and we do have one. So we have a card which is an introduction. It has lantern, it also has sky, and it isn't that, it isn't that, and it isn't that. So that can go in there. The door opens a few cautious inches. Who's there, I say? Who's there? The storm wind plucks at you, plucks at the door, shakes the trees around the house. So we can't click start yet. We're going to have to put something in here. And we click on it. It's highlighted health, half drowned. So basically we've turned up at the address and we look half drowned. The Reverend staggers back as if he'd received a blow. And then he's bombarding me with terrified, delighted questions before I'm even through the door. Let the timer run. Reverend Timothy flutters fussily while Terence the housekeeper busies herself with practicalities. She shows me to a warm room at the top of the house where a fire is already made up. Nice. So let's just slow down time a bit. So this is a bit more of a timer, and that timer is running there. And you can also see it running there. Now, some noise just went off and I don't know what it was. Oh, we are now into the first actual day. So at the top we have the time tracker. Starts off in dawn and then it goes through to morning, afternoon and evening, etc., etc. And basically you've got, the game is divided into these days, and various things will happen in a day, and you will use your elements during the day and they will become fatigued, and you will also use your memories. Any memories that you still have at dawn the next day will disappear. So that's the kind of cycle of the way that the game flows, and you've got to try and do as much as you can in a day. But from what I've read, it's supposed to be a relaxing game in a way. There's no the world's not going to blow up after 20 days, I hope. And if you don't get it done one day, you can just do it the next day. Let's see what happens here. So this is the other thing to watch out for in the game. This timer has run down, but we don't have a big glowing thing on the board. This is one of the things that I found a little tricky with the game, is that you can start something going in a location, and then if we were over here, for example, nothing has told us that that's ready. So yeah, they may be tweaking this. I will be certainly suggesting it as some kind of UI improvement, that there should be an arrow flashing on the screen to say, look, something has timed out over here and you need to do something with it. As it is, we're just going to have to remember, because it's also not like flashing yellow or anything. But we can click here, and it says we got our health back. And we've got a memory of foresight. So we're going to collect those. That's it. So our health has now returned. We're not going to die in 5 minutes, which is good. It says, Reverend Timothy's words always run ahead of him, but his thoughts always catch up. So we're now into the first day, and you might be thinking, right, well, this is all well and good. We've found the fisherman on the beach, and we told him that we knew somebody in town, and he became less skeptical, and then we went into town and we knocked on Reverend Timothy's door, and he's given us a bed for the night, right? What are we doing? Well, let's have a look. What can we do? We've got 2 main actions by default, and we've also got these locations here that we can click on, and they will do various things. So let's have a look at this one. This is the consider. It's basically examine something, appreciate something, or catalogue something. And what can we consider? We can consider the book. It says I should dry this book out before trying to read it. So I'm going to click start, and the timer is running down. Well, it's going to when I unpause the game. But before we do that, I'm going to let that run. Is there anything we can talk to? I don't think there is. I don't know where Reverend Timothy is. He's not here. So we can't do that. We have 2 memories. We have one of fear and one of foresight. And again, they've got aspects on that will become useful later on. We can't do anything at the post office because the book is still soaked. We can't do anything with any of the other buildings. And we have the padlock to the bridge. So, the mist-cloaked bridge. Every so often, someone builds a bridge to the Isle. Each bridge lasts 100 years, or 200, and then the sea disposes of it. This was built in the 1890s, and that makes it the newest bridge. But that doesn't mean it's new. And it looks like we need to repair it. Now, to repair the bridge, we need assistance. So, like the fisherman, it must be assistance. It also needs to either be forge, lantern, or sky. One of those 3 things. So if we get an assistant with one of those 3 things, we can repair the bridge. At the moment, we don't have anybody. Nobody's around to talk to. But if we click on the old rectory and click on study, you will see that Fost has become highlighted, because it is an element of the soul that either contains knock or lantern, that isn't fatigued and isn't under malady. So we're going to drag Fost in there. Timothy will offer his help for free as a friend. We're going to start that countdown. So we've got 2 countdowns running, but this is an interesting one because we've started it and straight away another box has come up with topic. And this is the part of the game that I don't quite understand. Why didn't it just give us that option on the previous screen? Why did it wait for us to start it and then it asked us what topic we want to speak to? Ask him about something specific, or leave this empty to wait for him to finish with his correspondence and lend his assistance. That's what we want to do. We want his assistance. Hopefully he'll introduce us to somebody else in town, or he'll allow us to get across the bridge. Who knows? Who knows? In fact, we don't have any topic to speak to him about. No, where's our book gone? That's a little worrying. Where is the book gone? But anyway, the thing that goes in the slot is it has to be something that's soaked. Well, we had a book that was soaked. I don't know where the book's gone. Oh, the book's there. We're considering the book. Okay. We'll let the time run. First one has finished. We'll let the second one finish as well. There you go. And we're going to pause it again. So let's have a look at this. I can't glean anything from this book until I've dried it out carefully. Okay, so that didn't dry the book out at all. That just looked at the book for 5 seconds. We've now got Rector's assistant. So we have Timothy's assistant, and Fost has become fatigued. So he's there. We can now talk to him. Collaborate. So the way that assistants work is they have by default their own aspects, and you can see that Reverend Timothy, Rector of Brancrug, ordained by the Church of the Unconquered Sun, a learned man, blessed in the tally, the gate, and the light. Make use of the Rector's help before dawn, because he'll disappear. At dawn, he will disappear, and then we're going to have to ask him for help again. He's got 1 knock, 2 lantern, his assistants, and an introduction. So we can use him to introduce us to other people. Now, what you can do is you can collaborate with them by putting something in the slot, which is either an element, a beverage, a memory, a candle, a sustenance, or a tool, as long as it's not fatigued or malady. And what that will do is it actually adds the aspect of the thing that you're collaborating with him on to his aspects for the day. So it's telling us that we could collaborate with him on fear. We could basically talk to him about fear. I can discuss a memory with my assistant. It will use up the memory, but what it does is it adds the aspects of the memory to the assistant for that day. So what are we going to do? Are we going to use him to introduce us to somebody else? So for example, Mr. and Mrs. Killy. Can we get him to introduce us to them? We can. A mutual acquaintance has induced the Killies to invite me for a fish supper. If I'm lucky, fish supper may mean Mrs. Killy's celebrated galettes. So we could do that. We can't do anything at the post office, I don't think. No, we need the dried out journal first. I don't know how we dry out the journal. It's not dried out yet, is it? We've got the pub. Will he introduce us to people at the pub? He will. So Reverend Timothy, presence demands respect. So he will introduce us to people at the pub. What about the blacksmith? No. So he won't introduce us to the blacksmith. And that's because the blacksmith is only interested in edge, forge, and heart. And the rector is knock and lantern. So that's why. They've nothing in common, so he won't introduce me to that. But we've got this lock here. So to unlock this, we need assistant with either forge, lantern, or sky. That's it. So we've got all sorts of choices here. I think, for the purposes of this playthrough, we're going to get him to help us repair the bridge, and we'll get him to introduce us to the other characters later, because once you use him for something, he's gone for the day. And the next day, we need to go back to the rectory, speak to him again, which uses up one of our elements. Well, in fact, it's using up Fost. That's the only one that we can use to get him to come on our side for the day. And then we can get him to introduce us to other people. Right, there we go. So, and that is a 60-second countdown that's running there. So what else can I talk to you about while that countdown's running? Again, we can speed up time if we wanted to. But we've done that without adding any stats to him. So we were able to do that purely based on the stats that he had. We didn't need to boost his stats at all to do that. We've still got health left. We are only in... it's still the morning, and you can see down at the bottom we're in spring. So the game has a 4-season cycle. It isn't 30 days per season, and we're currently in spring, and different things will happen depending on which season you're in. Right, let's speed up a bit. There we go. So we've opened Kukubrit Bridge. I'm going to pause time, and you'll see that we now have another lock. A cottage where Hush House's groundskeeper lived until the fire. If I can get into the place and make it habitable, I can use it as a base for reclaiming more of the house. So we could explore the house, but we need assistance. We need 2 forge and 1 heart. Sorry, no, 2 forge or 1 heart or knock. Well, we know that Timothy, what did Timothy have? Timothy had 2 lantern. I think he had, I can't remember now. So this is one of the things in the game. You might want to make notes because a lot of the stuff in the game is not there for you. And I might end up, when I start playing the game in a bit more detail, having a little spreadsheet on my other monitor where I track certain pieces of information, such as what Timothy's stats are. So all we've got left is health, but I don't think we can do anything else. We have another padlock here. Brancrug is a tidal island, and at low tide you could walk there, though you probably shouldn't. Again, we need assistance with 2 moon or 2 winter. So we can't do that yet. We also have over here, if you zoom in, there is the moor. We can go for a walk on the moor. It requires effort and knowledge. Now, effort is basically an element of the soul that's either heart, rose, or scale. So we have health, so we could put in some effort, but this slot requires a skill. We currently don't have any skills whatsoever, so we can go for a walk on the moor, but we've no idea what we're looking for. And that's what it says here. Clamber up into the long reaches of the moors behind the village. Lean into the wind's fluttering fist. If I know what to look for, I might find something among the rocks. So it's not letting us go for a walk unless we put a skill in there. I don't think there's anything else we can do. So let's just end the first day. I think all we've got left is health. We've no people left. We've got the book. Oh, I was going to try and do something with this book, wasn't I? I was going to try and dry it out. Can we put it there? No, what we probably should have done is tried to speak to Timothy about the book. We can't put the book in there. No, I don't think there's anything we can do. Let me see if we can't consider the book, because that just did the same thing. Yeah, it's odd that we can't dry it out because we have time. There's nothing to do, but we've used Reverend Timothy for today. So we can't put health in there, can we? We can't put health in there now. And can we put health anywhere else? No, because it's a sea of hostile faces, so we can't actually do anything at the pub yet. I think that's going to be it for the first day. Yeah, because I don't think... I mean, if we've missed anything, that's fine, because you just pick it up the second day. As I say, there's not a timer on this game. I mean, it's a game full of timers, but, you know, there's no... As far as I know, there's no timer on this game. We can just let... We'll just let time run and spend the rest of the day, and then we'll continue this playthrough in part 2. I will just carry on talking for a bit while the time passes. Just wanted to say a big thank you, first of all, to all of my Patreon supporters for funding the channel. If you like the content that I create and you want to support the channel, you can do so at patreon.com/gaming rules. All of my advertising revenue goes to charity, so if you've watched this video and you had any annoying adverts pop up, then slightly less annoying because that money has gone to a good cause. I will be back with part 2, where it will be our second day on the island. Our memories will have disappeared. Our Fete will have been restored. Our Fost would have been restored. We can go and speak to Timothy again, and we can see if he can introduce us to some of the other villagers in this village. So yeah, hope you've enjoyed it, and join me for part 2.